Are we on? We're on. We're in. This is GTV, the Native Speakers Academy Educational Perspectives Video Report blog. It's Friday. It's Friday the 9th of September 2011. And in today's short little blog, we're going to have a look at a little story that's been in the news recently and see if we can try to uncover a little bit of the background to the story to try to understand what's happening in the educational environment, especially in Britain at the moment. And I can the sun is coming and going, so if the picture gets a bit dark, just bear with me here. It's just one of those days. It's a nice day, but you know, the sun is drifting in and out from behind the clouds there. So I set my Google News to collect different pieces of educational information, and so every day I have in my Google News page a lot of stories in education. Most of the stories in the last week have concerned the concept of free schools, which of course are not really free, but it's a nice name. I mean, free suggests not costing any money. It also suggests you can actually do what you want. It doesn't of course mean that the students can do what they want. It means that the owners of the school, the educators, the business groups behind the schools can in fact have a free rein to do exactly what they want, which in my opinion is essentially negative, because you're going to have businesses coming in getting sponsorship from the government. The government will have no say what happens in the school, and the businesses will run the school to train the students to then work specifically for those businesses, which makes school a training camp essentially for specific jobs, rather than an institution which encourages students to bring out those innate abilities they have within them, and to explore other areas of the world, their environment, and their abilities. Anyway, the point is that there were several articles. I need a grammar lesson regarding the free schools, and I thought I would just take you through how little we understand about what the changes in our education system mean. The first thing is that these schools have suddenly been promoted over the last 2 years as the way forward, the way out of the disaster that has become the modern education system, with standards continually falling. It's a wonder that there hasn't been a complete revolution, and parents just haven't marched into the schools and taken their children out, but they're all too busy trying to earn enough money to pay their bills to survive, so they don't go to prison, that they don't have time to do that. It's sad but true. Of course, there are some situations where the students do very well, but I'm not going to focus on that today. The Free Schools program. This is an article by building.co.uk. It's quite unusual to have a schools article in a building magazine or on a building website. Obviously, there's a little bit of business going on here. And there's a picture of Rachel Wulff, who's 26. She's a very pretty looking woman. It's nice to have a pretty face to sell your new ideas, whatever they may be. Rachel Wulff at 26 is in charge of delivering the government's free schools program. In the week of the first of these schools open, is that right? In the week the first of these schools open, she tells Sarah Richardson about how construction firms can get involved and the importance or not of good design. Well, as I mentioned, these schools have been promoted within the last 2 years as a new concept, but I would like to look at the fact that there's an untold history here going on. That's my coffee, excuse me. The first thing that I want to know is who is Rachel Wulff? She's 26 and she's in charge of delivering the government's schools program. How, at the age of 26, do you get into a position where you are delivering the government's new education system? Well, first of all, she studied at Cambridge, so it's one of the elite schools of the country. And if you catch me looking up, there's a wasp flying around here. Not afraid of wasps, but I've been stung and I don't enjoy it. So she's a graduate of one of the elitist schools. So what did she study? What does she know about education? If you spent all your time in one of those types of environments, what do you really understand about the education system that exists for other people in the country? What do you understand about what's going on in the state schools if you spent all your time in that kind of school? I mean, I'm not saying she's not an intelligent person. I'm not saying she's not the right person for the job, but you have to raise these questions. How at the age of 26 can you be suddenly organizing and essentially designing what the government is promoting as the future of education for the country? It doesn't seem logical to me. It goes on, when the education department revealed 2 weeks ago that the first 24 free schools would open their doors to pupils this September, Rachel Wulff felt a certain sense of vindication. A year ago, when I was saying that I thought there could be free schools opening, so a year ago she was actually 25 when she was saying this. There could be free schools opening in 2011, and hundreds over the course of the Parliament. I was met with polite disbelief. At best, she says, no wonder. And she is 25, and all those people working in schools all of their lives who are 50 and 60 see her coming in and changing everything and moving the goalposts, as they say. So if we look a little bit more at this article, Wulff herself, the early days, Wulff herself, like the free schools policy she is delivering, has been dogged by controversy. Just 26 years old, she has been involved in the education sector pretty much since leaving Cambridge University, about 2 years before that, where she studied natural sciences. Now, what does that have to do with education? After graduating, we'll look at that in a second. After graduating, she worked on a research project at the Institute of Education before securing a job with Boris Johnson, working on his higher education policy. Straight from the university into a job working on higher education policy. She's obviously implementing the designs of others. At that time, David Willits, the then Shadow Education Secretary, was developing the Free Schools Initiative for the first time. Oh, it's a new idea. It's a new idea. And Wulff did some work with him. That was when I really started getting interested in education. So she wasn't interested before. She says, after a spell working on Johnson's London mayoral campaign, she left to work for Michael Gove. So she's probably been working in these little short-term projects. So the first point I want to explore is natural sciences. What are natural sciences? According to Google's definition here, a branch of science that deals with the physical world, physics, chemistry, geology, biology, a branch of knowledge that deals with the study of the physical world. So not really dealing with the mind or mental development or educational psychology in any way at all. According to Wikipedia, The natural sciences are branches of science that seek to elucidate the rules that govern the natural world by using empirical and scientific methods. Scientific methods. Again, we're employing this concept of the application of science into education, rather than the development of each individual to the best of their own abilities. We are molding and shaping them through social sciences, which include the study of human behavior and social patterns. Also the humanities, which use a critical analytical approach to study the human condition, like it's some kind of problem. And the formal sciences, such as mathematics and logics, which use a priori as opposed to factual methodology to study formal systems. You see the direction this is going in here. In ancient and medieval times, the objective study of nature was known as natural philosophy, avoiding morals. In late medieval and early modern times, a philosophical interpretation of nature was gradually replaced by a scientific approach using inductive methodology. Search these words, inductive methodology. The work of Sir Francis Bacon popularized this approach, thereby helping to forge the scientific revolution. So here we're going right back to Francis Bacon in order to implement this educational philosophy, psychology, science within the schools. We need to go right back to Sir Francis Bacon to understand the origin of the idea. So it is not something which is new in any way at all. And this page goes on to talk about that a little bit more. Cambridge University has some interesting information on the natural sciences program that it teaches. You can have a look at the topics that are studied there in its four-year program. If you do a little bit of searching around, we'll skip that for the sake of time here. And we will go on to discover a New Schools Network information. It's a charity, it's a UK registered charity which advises groups of parents or others who wish to set up state-funded independent schools. So it's a charity organization, which means essentially it works in partnership with the government. Although it's a private organization, so the government can't say what happens in the organization, but the organization gets to say what happens in the government. Schools can be established in England under the Academies Act 2010. The group was set up in 2009 by Rachel Wulff. It's now 2011. She's 26, so when she was 23 or 24, she set it up. So at 23 or 24, she was setting up the basis for the education system, which is now being implemented in Great Britain. Also says here again that she worked for Boris Johnson and Michael Gove, who is now the Secretary of State at the Department for Education. She started work after visiting New York and observing the city's charter schools. Charter schools are another subject that we don't have time to look into today, but it's the American perspective on the free schools, which are not free. It just means essentially a more school to work based program. So how did she get into this position? We have to look at the background to her family. Her mother, Alison Wulff, is a British economist, Director of Public Services Policy and Management at King's College London, at the King's College. And her father, Martin Wulff, British journalist who works for the Financial Times and comes from a Jewish background. There we go. Put all the pieces together yourself and you can see that not everything is what it seems. I'll post some links. Thanks.